Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Inquisition with Diceandpigment. No, it's not Wednesday, but we're doing it today because Norm has something to do tomorrow. So we thought we'd change it to today and then we'll give you your Wednesday, folks, so you can do whatever the hell you want to do on your Wednesday. Now, we will be back next Wednesday with our sponsors, Orange Brushes. Remember, Inquisition, 10% off. You know it makes sense. And how are we all today, people? Did you get over the bank holiday well? Did you drink too much? Did you not drink enough? I hope you all stay hydrated. I turned the ripe old age of 26 for the 20th year in a row. So yeah, my birthday on Saturday. Shout out to everybody who got sent me all well wishes. And I hope you've had a fantastic weekend as well. And yeah, hoping that Norm will be on soon, and we'll see how late Casey will be. He's probably forgot, even though I told him today that it's on Tuesday, and he'll probably try and log in tomorrow. With his London jargon, you know what he's like. So let's see if Instagram is actually better on a Tuesday than what it is on a Wednesday. How you doing, Norm?
Yeah, not too bad. You?
Yeah, I'm good, buddy.
Good stuff.
Casey's actually here on time, so we're just trying to get Casey in now. Not the first time Casey said that about somebody trying to get him in. Well, hey! And what's his always not paid his electricity bill or he's paid his internet bill because
Gonna
he's buffing.
find out.
So, how you doing, Norm? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm doing good. What about yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm not bad. Just bashing away on a wee warhound.
Nice. Nearly finished?
I still got a wee bit to go. I'm just like doing some metallic stuff, and then trying to figure out what I should kind of dirty down and rust up. But yeah, we'll soon see. Uh, just try to get Casey in here. I don't know what he's doing. Uh,
Classic.
he's restarting my thing, which could be pretty much anything. But whilst Casey tries to figure out English, how to type in sentences properly, Norm, first question we ask everybody. How old were you when you hit the plastic crack? And whose fault is it that you get into this mental hobby?
I was, Christ, probably about 9, 10, something like that. And to be honest with you, the only reason I ended up getting into it is probably through Lord of the Rings. Is probably where most of my money as a kid went. But the actual reason behind it is we had a shopping centre well, it's still there near where I live, and my mum would go into the shopping centre, and that was at the time probably the only shop that kids probably found interesting in a shopping centre. So me and my brother would say, right, we're going to go down to the Games Workshop. Obviously back then you could sit in and paint and play and all the rest of it. But that particular shop had like a glass case on the outside with some pretty cool conversions, and I can remember they had a Tyranid that someone had kind of converted almost into like out of the Alien movie where a baby Tyranid was coming out of the stomach. And yeah, that's one of those. We walked past that, and then every time we got roped out to a shopping trip, we just stopped off there, much to my mum's disappointment because Warhammer cost a fortune and we didn't have a huge amount of money growing up.
I mean, yeah, like it also maybe good for your mum that it was like kind of built-in babysitter as well, just leaves you there at
Yeah,
9 o'clock
yeah,
back
yeah,
at
probably.
closing time.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
imagine so.
what was the first thing that you painted then? Do you still have that model that you
No, I
painted?
don't. I don't. You know, I spoke to Christ. I couldn't even tell you. Probably the first thing that I painted. It was probably maybe some Moria Goblin or something like that from the Middle Earth stuff. The first thing, or the first two things I can remember painting, as in like I have, it's deep in the memory is I painted the Balrog,
Yep.
and I think you can buy it again now. It was like the on the old world. It was like maybe an orc warboss that sat on the back of a wyvern, and the wyvern, the one with like the.
Sorry,
Right, all right.
my wife was bringing me glue, and that was the wrong sort of glue. I can't get high in this glue, but it's alright.
That's no good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the orc warboss that was sat on the back of the wyvern, the wyvern had like the big belly on it. The warboss is sticky. I think you can get it again on Old World. I was a little bit disappointed that I really like the model, but I was a bit disappointed that they re-released it because it was one of my hobby plans was to try and hunt down like an original and it be kind of unique that I still had it, and then when they released it, I was like, it kind of takes away from what I want.
I'm pretty sure you probably could, if you keep crawling eBay, you probably find it on there.
Oh, you can find it, but now it's like, if I had it on display somewhere, someone would probably just think, that'll just be a new reprint from the old world or whatever. And not that I'm doing it for anyone else, but it kind of killed the rareness for me a little bit.
And is it exactly the same, or is it slightly different?
No, I think it's pretty much exactly the same. Yeah.
It's like, that's pretty good, but I would still go for it because at least you know yourself, I
Yeah,
suppose.
that's true. I would still probably go for the original because it was metal and it was actually part metal, part plastic, and I can always remember the body was metal, everything else being plastic, and that body weighed so much. There was so much metal in that stomach, so I'd probably just get the old one for a bit of nostalgia.
Oh, definitely, man. So, like, were you right into Lord of the Rings as a youngster then, and
Yeah,
then kind of
yeah, yeah,
transferred over into,
yeah, pretty much.
yeah, because it was like Lord of the Rings was massive like 20 years ago. I remember when Return of the King came out, me and my pal went Christmas shopping, but we stopped at the pub first, and pretty much we never went any shopping. And then my other mate was like that, let's go and watch Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And I was every time Hugo Weaving came on, I would go, Mr. Frodo. And I think everybody laughed like the first or second time, but like I think they got a bit annoyed. As I started
Yeah,
well, you know what I
you
mean?
soon became that guy.
I was that guy. So what's your favourite of the Lord of the Rings movies? What would you say is your go-to Lord of the Rings film then?
Two Towers, I think.
That is pretty.
I
Yeah,
think
you
so.
can't.
It's just that end scene, isn't it? It's
I think it's the
the,
build up to it as well.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's a good film. I think I try and get my missus into Lord of the Rings because she hasn't watched them, and I think if you're not into that kind of thing, I think the first film is a little bit slow if you're not into it. Like if you're into it, you kind of know that where it's going to go and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's not easy because it's not like you're asking them to sit down and watch a like 1.5 hour film. In this day and age, you get those extended editions, which is what we all like to watch, and they're like over 3 hours.
Like I remember, like I've got my wife bought me the Return of the box set, the Lord of the Rings box set, and we fire through like the first one, the second one, fire through the second one, and it comes in two discs. Obviously, it's like 5 discs per film.
Yeah,
So I went to put in the second disc, which was basically them building up to the big fight at the end, and it turned out that they misprinted the DVD.
no,
So this was before like IPTV or anything. Uh, so I had to then explain to my wife in 5 minutes what happens at the end of Lord of the Rings because she couldn't be bothered. I don't think I did it
devastating.
justice. I don't think I did it justice. I don't. Oh yeah, that's basically a ghost army turns up and kills everybody, and that was it.
Yeah. Nah, it's good films, but that kind of I'm much more into sort of fantasy stuff than I am sci-fi, and that's just Lord of the Rings progressed onto online gaming for me, and obviously I was part of the sort of original World of Warcraft sort of age group, if you like, and that was the first probably real RuneScape into World of Warcraft, and then yeah, I turned 18, 19, and found alcohol and women.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. You find those two things in that order, and then your kind of hobby kind of goes away. So, how long a break would you say that you had in between the hobby and like going back to it?
I bet it was 20 years, I bet. I would have thought so. About 20 years.
And what got you back into it? Was it lockdown or was it?
No, it's annoying actually because I obviously look at everything I've got going on now and I wish I'd have been there for the sort of lockdown train that, everyone seemed to jump off of on the bandwagon, and obviously a lot of success came from a lot of people. But so I was a big online gamer when I was younger. I probably quit online gaming when I was about 21, 22. Just because obviously pass your driving test and you go out with your mates more, and I don't know, I would no longer into that, or no longer wanted to sit at home playing games for the amount of hours that I did. And then when me and my missus moved into this house, we were building the house as we moved in, and when I eventually got around to being able to, in fact, no, it wasn't when I could afford the gaming PC. One of my friends ended up sending me a message and said, "Don't know if you've tried this game, but I know what we used to play and it's just out. I think you'd really enjoy it." So I ended up getting my old PC, which by that point was slow as hell out. Jumped on and I was like, you know what, really is my type of game. So I bought myself a new gaming PC and I played that for probably 3 years. And like all games, game developers ruin them as they go on because obviously they're trying to generate more money, and often that means trying to cater to new players, but then that drives older players out. And I didn't really have any game to replace it. And then randomly, I was scrolling YouTube one night, and on my YouTube front page was How to Paint the Space Marine by Tabletop Ready, I think. And I was like, chuffing hell, Warhammer. Like, those were the days. And I clicked on that, and every Thursday I have some of my mates round, and I was like, "Any of you guys ever play Warhammer when you was younger?" And they're all like, "No, no, never heard of it." But we're all pretty impressionable people, so it didn't take me long for them to get them into it. Um, with the intention of playing tabletop, to be fair, because I never played as a kid. We just painted, and we all bought a combat patrol each. We haven't played one game of tabletop yet, and that was probably 2.5 years ago, maybe something like that. And literally, that one video is what sent me down the rabbit hole, and yeah, here we are.
Was it like an Obi-Wan Kenobi where he like goes, Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah,
Warhammer, now there's a name I haven't heard in a long, long time.
yeah, pretty much. And then, so it's like anything else. If you haven't consistently stayed involved, I mean, for me as a kid, I can remember sort of you got a. Have I made this up? But I'm pretty sure that you could get a catalogue back in those days, and we'd bring the catalogue home. You had to buy it from in the Games Workshop
Of
shop, and
course.
then you bring it home, and I'd be like, "Oh, I want this, I want that," but obviously you always want the models that were like, well, back then probably 50 quid, and there was no chance that my mum were doing that. Maybe for Christmas, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what models are like these days." Um, yeah, so I just went onto GW's website, started scrolling, and I'm like, yeah, all right, maybe this could take over the old online gaming gap that I've now created, and yeah, it did, and I'm still here.
Did you play any of the Dawn of War games?
No,
No?
no,
They
no.
were- I like the first one was good. That's what kind of got like I was reading the Horus Heresy books. I'm a massive Star Wars fan,
Yeah,
but when I played games that like me and my mates used to play Command and Conquer all the time. Like I
yeah,
think World of Warcraft kind of bypassed us. So it was always like Command and Conquer, Red Alert 2, Command and Conquer 3, or Football Manager. And then me and my other mate, when we lived together, we played Counter Strike 1.6, and me ended up joining like European ladders, and we trained twice a week and all that. Like
yeah,
really sad.
yeah.
Uh, but I kind of get back into like PC gaming myself by just like Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2. Dawn of War 3 was shit, but I prefer Dawn of War 2 because the campaign was kind of like Command and Conquer-esque. We could like invade different. It was kind of like Rift slash Command and Conquer and Warhammer. It was
Yeah.
actually, I really quite enjoyed that. I fucking like gaming. But gaming back in the day was where it was like Friday nights. Counter-Strike 1.5 if you never had a date or you want to get out. It was brilliant. Casey says your mail order catalogue was great. How great was it, Casey? Did you... So, you said that you and your brother were into it. Is your brother still into it, or is he just totally fell away?
So he lives relatively close. He lives about an hour away now, and so I managed to get three of my mates into it. Since then, all three of those have stopped. Like none of them remain. But I suppose if to them it was a new hobby, whereas for me it was just kind of nostalgic, and I probably knew more than what they did. When those guys started to taper off, that's when I thought, I don't want to do this on my own. So I then started poking my brother, being like, "Oh, I've got back into this," and then eventually his kids then wanted to. Well, they saw what I'd got and they wanted to have a go, and then he started having a go, and then before you know it, I managed to fully rope him in. So yeah, but same sort of break. We pretty much stopped at the exact same time, and yeah, jumped. He probably got into it maybe 6 months after I did, because yeah, I
You
won't let him.
pretty much you bullied him into getting back into it.
Yeah, you know what? Well, I'm proper obsessive with stuff. Like I'm sure a lot of people are. And it is a flaw, and I know it is. If I wanted to paint something now, I couldn't just pick it up and paint it. I'd have to like do some little plan research. I've obviously got some kind of autistic traits in me that don't allow me to do other things, and so everything that I'd found out, I just saved, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, that's a good video. Let's throw it into this folder and make myself a big sort of directory of information." So when I ended up wanting, or when he jumped back in, he essentially asked me all the questions that I tried to find the answers for originally. So all I'd end up doing is going, "Oh, this is the video I'd use for that. Oh, this is this." And he was like, "Christ, you just have all these saved." And that's pretty much then how the Painter's Portal guide ended up coming, because I already had all this stuff saved. I just needed to make it look better.
That
and
kind of
neat
like
it
a
up.
Casey question. Is that where the idea for the hobby guide that you did, was that because of your brother and you wanting ideas yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. So I had like, obviously very, very scrappy. It was just a folder that I'd named either links or saved information on it, like I don't know, glazing. I'd just make a folder and I'd throw a few links in there for what videos that I'd come across, so that if I ever needed to come back to them as a reference. Um, so those were the ones that I was just firing it in, and then we we've always, not so much hobby wise, we've always said we'd like to work together, but we work in very, very different fields. And we were like, one day it'd be good to have a business together. And although this isn't a business, it was like, you know what, this could be quite fun. So basically, I started researching and writing everything, and I'd just give it to him in a raw format, and then he made it look pretty. And yeah, that's pretty much how it came, and we compiled a list of everything that someone that got into. Essentially, it was like when I got into the hobby, I wish I'd have had that. So I was like, right, how do I make something that if someone was gonna get into the hobby, I could go, here you are. There's almost like a book, and yeah, that's how that pretty much came about.
Right, your partner in crime, 41st
I
William
know, I
Davis.
can see.
Nice looking background there, Norm.
I know, purposeful, Dave. It was intentional.
Sorry, my dog. Isa, there's a child walking by the window, and she's
Yeah.
just found her voice in the last few
I
months.
know how you feel with that, mate, because I've got, fortunately, I don't actually have any neighbours, but if I did, I would, yeah, you wouldn't hear me right now, because my dog, if anyone comes to the door, she goes absolutely fucking nuts
Yeah.
every time.
So, but then when you open the door, she's the biggest shite bag
Yeah.
going. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, she's a nightmare. So, it's 41st William Dave your brother then?
Oh,
No? No.
so basically, so my brother's like kind of behind the cameras, doesn't want to be seen, doesn't want anything to do with that. But I got, obviously, I first met Dave through, I did the custom chapter competition, and we did the first one, and he did an entry, and we weren't really mates at that point. I think I'd spoke to him a little bit about his entry, and that was about it. And then I forget what made us start talking, but then I think we realised that we were quite local to each other. And then I think I posted something up because I was going on a Siege Studios painting course. And I think Dave then said, "Oh, is that on this date?" And he was going on the same one. And my brother was coming with us. Or me and my brother were going, and I'd said to Dave, "Oh, we're going to be there." And then when we packed all the stuff up to go on the painting course, we got down to our accommodation. It was, I forget where it was. Oh, it was where the hell was that? It was in Element Games in, was it over Stockport? And we got there and realised that we'd brought our lamps, but none of the clamps for the bottom. And I was like, oh my days. So we went to Element Games and we're like, do you have any of the clamps or any lamps available? Like, I'll buy one. And they're like, no, it's not something we keep in stock here. We only do it as an online order. So Dave ended up, because he's a Sparky, ended up coming down in his van, and it just so happened that he had like some electrical clamps, some pieces of wood. So he's ripping this big, like, sort of set of drawers up to pieces that are in the back of his van and drilling holes in it, and he ended up making us a little clamp stand, which saved us for the weekend. And we all ended up sitting together. So although I'd been speaking to him quite a lot at this point, that was like the first time him and my brother had met, and then from there it was kind of like I'd I'd kind of told him at that point, "Oh, this is what I'm looking to do," and he had a few other things on the go at the time, so couldn't. I don't think, not that he didn't want to commit, but he couldn't commit. I didn't think he wanted to be that guy that like was saying, "Yeah, I'll get involved," and then couldn't really get involved as much as he wanted to get involved. So it was like. Um,
I
Probably,
suppose as well, him getting that natural grey looking out the Just for Men probably took him a good bit of time to get
yeah,
that. So I understand
100%.
why he was kind of fobbing you off until he got that
Yeah,
look.
waiting for it to come through perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, and then about 2 or 3 months after that, it was like, oh, I've kind of cancelled these gigs that I've got going on, and if you want to go for it, we'll go for it. Which, not that I would have still done something without him regardless, um, but I definitely, like, Dave pumps out so much more content than what I do. Like, the guy's a painting machine. Like,
Yeah.
so he's a really good painter, and on the painting side of things, I can't match that. So we kind of said that's how we're splitting the responsibilities, if you like, at the moment. I've got a lot of gear and a lot of stuff that we want to review and sort of like techniques that we maybe want to show people. And then Dave's got a lot of like painting ideas and sort of fun little builds and stuff like that he wants to do. So it's good balance at the minute.
So we've got Casey. Casey can't join for some mad reason. He's asking how useful these studio courses are and how did you find it?
Um, so we went on the Essentials Masterclass course, which I don't believe it's aimed at like army painting. I think it's aimed at like someone that's trying to improve their painting. And I don't want to slate the course because I think maybe it's me. I'm a bit of a perfectionist in like I'm never happy with anything that I do anyway. But I still think it was a little bit kind of like army painting standard. Not really. Essentially, we went and we did. So you got a panel from a tank, and on that panel you learned how to gradient properly with an airbrush, which that was brilliant. Like Simon, the guy who ran the course, like I've got no issues with anything that he taught. Like he taught everything perfectly. We then did a little bit of weathering on those tank panels and applying transfers and all that lot, which I think you're probably going to know how to apply transfers if if you go into that kind of course with the intention of trying to become a better painter. But that was fine. We learned how to do power swords, and Dave's done obviously a power sword on the channel already. We didn't do that method, but I already knew of the method that Dave uses, and that was the method that Dave used. And when we were painting the power swords, we both kind of had this moment where we looked and kind of went, I think I prefer this way of doing it. I'm not so keen on this. And then we painted we painted a face, and I wasn't overly keen on the face painting. If I were rating it out of 10, genuinely, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. But I
What about value for money? Would you say? I mean, would you say, or would you say it was value for money,
you
or
know
probably
what?
not
Yeah,
because
because like I think if again, I think that I think a lot of that is down to me personally,
yeah,
in that like something that you may look at and think, you know what, that looks really good. I'd maybe look at it and go, it's all right. Like, and that's not me knocking anyone's work or anything like that. And I can't even paint to a standard of which I'd like to paint to. So, and that's, you know what I mean. I can't look at anyone's work and go, yeah, I could do that. But I kind of, so since then, I've been on a painting course with Aaron, AC Miniatures, and Phoenix, and that was obviously the both Golden Demon winners. It was a course designed on realistically pushing your skills. It was the same price as the Siege course. It, if I had to say anything about the Siege course that was an actual negative, it's that there was one tutor and there were 25 people on that course. Um, it, you could tell it was rushed. Like he couldn't get around everyone. If you needed him, it was like, yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of time dedicated to that one person. Whereas in the course that I just recently went on with down at Cryptic Cabin, there was probably, I think, 15 people maybe, and there's two tutors. And there wasn't a time on that course where you felt like, oh, these guys are rushing me here because they're trying to trying to move on. But at the same time, we didn't necessarily go through as many things in that, you know, you weren't painting a power sword or something. You were sketching a full model, and they were showing you how they would like start doing light placement and things such as that. But they kind of show you what to do, and it wouldn't be then right. You've got 20 minutes to do this, and then we're back to the thing. It was you've probably got 2 hours to do what you've just done, and then they just walked around constantly and jumped in and helped. And I felt like them coming and spending or being able to come and spend 10 minutes at the side of you, if you weren't doing something right, although you don't necessarily want them to paint it for you, if you're not doing something right and someone who's a master at the craft comes and says, I can see you doing this, let me just show you this a second,
yeah,
and you see how they do it, that can make you progress so much faster than trying to figure out what someone's doing.
yeah.
So I know that they're really popular, and the siege courses, and I think that the army painting stuff. I mean, you look at some of the commissions that Siege obviously pump out, and I think some of it's crazy. The conversions that they do and everything like that. Like you can't knock the work that you're doing, but I think for me personally, it wasn't the course that I was looking for. As soon as my brother said the same thing, and we both went there trying to sort of, I suppose, learn the same things from the
And
course. And as soon as
did they ask you for any feedback, and did you give them that feedback then, or did you just leave it?
uh, yeah, I didn't want to be that guy. It was like, to be fair to Simon, it was his first solo tutoring. Like he'd kind of been training to do that course, and he did that course brilliant. Like it wasn't, that's not a dig at him or anything like that. The course itself was ran well. Just wasn't necessarily a fan of the
Well, I suppose
standard.
if you're saying there's one tutor and there's 20 people, I mean, for me, you would want at least 2 or 3 people there because you spent decent money and you're wanting to learn.
Yeah, yeah,
As you say, well, Cryptic Cabin, if the sat beside you and showed you how to do something, then you're going to learn. But if there's only one person and you're
Yeah.
rushed, that would be something that maybe
So
if
it was kind of like, well, I mean, I had a few lessons with Aaron that I then went to the course at, and when I was speaking to him, he said that so they don't. He would never run a course for more than 12 people if it was on his own because he's like you just can't get around them. But like as an example, on the siege course, he'd show you how to do something. Everyone would cram around his desk, and he'd show you how to do something, and you'd then go back. You'd have whatever 30 minutes to do it, and then he'd walk around and you'd basically show him it like this. And you'd get if it wasn't right, you'd get oh maybe try doing this, and then it's on to the next person. Whereas in with like Aaron and Liam's course, they'd split themselves in two because obviously they're both different painters, so they do things in different ways. Split themselves in two. Half the class, you'd watch how Aaron did it, you'd then watch how Liam did it, and you'd make a decision on, you know what, I think this would probably work better for me. Or you'd go back and you'd try both, and then you'd experiment or whatever. But I just felt like there was much more time to be able to ask, like deep dive
yeah.
into it with them if you wanted to, and that did feel good. But when we'd finished on the siege course, I got home that night, and the first thing I did was look for a course with like a golden demon level painter, if you like, because I was like, nah, I think that's probably what I need to go to. And I mean, it was good. We went. I think it was in March that we went down to Cryptic Cabin, and yeah, it was good. I'd definitely go on another one.
But is it no matter how this hobby, like, as you say, you never knew Dave up until a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
and now you are doing a YouTube channel. That's like me and Casey. We never knew each other
yeah,
until we were in a painting competition through Inferno Miniatures, and now we
yeah.
do a podcast. It's not matter how small the hobby is, but how big the reach is to the hobby.
Yeah, so for me, that was kind of a deal. It was a deal breaker for the hobby, if you like, in that. So because I come from like PC online gaming, it's not necessarily like jumping on an Xbox and going into a lobby with different people every single time and not getting to know everyone. Like the guys that I knew from online, I don't play anymore. I still speak to them probably every day, every other day. Like obviously from probably 10 different countries. We're still in in the gaming Discord server together, and it's just, yeah, rather than it being, I don't know, 20 year olds, it's now 20, 35 year olds that are talking about stuff a little bit differently. But gaming for me were like massively social. Like I liked coming home from work and jumping on with the boys. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, I need to get on that game. Like it was more about the fact that, if I looked on my phone and saw all the guys were in a Discord channel, I'd get proper FOMO and be like, oh my god, I need to get on to see what they're all doing. And then when I started painting and my sort of real mates dropped out, I was like, it's going to be a little lonely hobby, is this, if I don't change things up a little bit, which is why I got my brother involved. I then I started the Discord because I was like, you know what, I find it quite easy to get. I don't really put myself out there that much, but I find it quite easy to get on with people just because of online gaming. Um, and then I was like, maybe I just create like a hang out and chill channel in the Discord, and if anyone wants to jump in and chat while they're painting, they can do. And that's what we initially started doing, and I think I did that maybe 10, 11 times, and each time someone new jumped in, I'm like, yeah, you know what, this isn't bad. And I think I am going to jump back into that, but at the moment we've obviously started YouTube, and it's quite time consuming, and yeah, it's you don't get that much time to actually jump in and chat to someone.
I must say the YouTube channel is fucking brilliant, man. Actually, I really do enjoy seeing your content, and it's just so good to see the Grey Fox, as I like to call him, and you're doing something that, I mean, it is so easy to follow, as well as that the kind of idea behind it was to keep it simple, because
Yeah,
there's a lot of like I mean, because you're going into a big field with a lot of like quite well known people that's quite saturated like ourselves. But I think it's the simplicity in how you'd explain things was that. the key for you to get it over the line?
Yeah, so it, initially I basically said I want to create dummies guides, and that's no offense to the people that are watching it, but like, so I have a mate who he doesn't paint at all. He's not into the hobby. But like I say, a few of the guys come round every Thursday. We just make sure that we keep in touch, and they come round to my house. And if the video is ready for that's going out, he'll say, "Oh, let me see your video that's going out tomorrow," and then we do a last minute sort of review. And I think it was the power sword tutorial that Dave did. He'd watched that and he was like, he went, you know what? I think I could have a crack at that. And he was like, I think from watching that video, he's like, I've never painted before in my life. He's like, that. There's no reason why I can't do that. And I was like, that's basically what we're trying to get across. It's obviously, it was the initial guide was kind of aimed at people like me that had jumped back into the hobby, and that's, I don't say that things won't progress and that the sort of direction of the channel won't change a little bit, because there's not an endless amount of content that you can create for beginners in real terms. But yeah, that kind of is, it's the audience, and you at the moment it's very much a hobby channel, not necessarily like, we're not two YouTubers, we're just two guys doing the hobby and kind of trying to teach people things that we
You
we know.
you're kind of documenting your own kind of journey. Did your pal paint that power sword?
Nah, not yet.
See,
But
that could,
so
that could be your offshoot channel.
yeah,
What's your mate's
Chris.
name? Chris paints Warhammer on a jet. You had like an idiot abroad. You could call
Yeah.
it an idiot paints Warhammer.
So this is kind of what I'd said, and you know what? I think he'd be down for it, because me and Dave are always trying to think of like, oh, we're brainstorming constantly for like. In fact, this is going to fall along with that question of like, how hard is it to come up with what's he said? How hard is it to come up with something new or refresh something that's well known? It's hard because, like you say, you can't reinvent the wheel. I mean, if you, I'm trying to think of a video that's probably like thinning paint, for example. Now, there's a couple of videos that on thinning paints that I would always send people in that direction. Like it's in the guide. Brushstroke painting guides does one, and yeah, I think it'd take some beating. But I watched that video and I was like, all right, it's a really good video, and I don't necessarily think it needs to be, that video needs to be remade, but I think you can definitely add to it and change it a bit. So that's, yeah, trying to think of new content is quite hard, but that was one of my ideas. I'd said to him, like, let's just go down this YouTube series of like, I taught a complete idiot how to paint Warhammer, basically. And I think he'd be down for it. The way that like this room's set up, like the wall behind you here is kind of where I film from, and the desks is, it's big enough to sit both of us side by side, and all the rest of it. And I'd like to get maybe like some more tutorials out from Dave, and then basically get Chris to paint a full miniature following on from Dave's tutorials. And like, yeah, I think it'd be make for a good little series. I know that, like, in the same way, my my wife,
You could do Chris Newby take Golden Demon. There's
yeah,
actually
yeah, it'd be brilliant. But people like watching that kind of thing, and it rather than it just being a sort of standard tutorial, probably gets your personality across, and people get to know you on the channel, as opposed to just seeing someone going, right, this is what I'm going to show you how to do today, and all the rest of it. But my wife, about probably 2 years ago, she was reading a book and she said to me, it's one of these smutty books that's got all sorts of crap in it, and I'm like, what is this? But she went, honestly, you need to read this book. She's like, it's a fantasy book, and I know you're not into all the smut stuff, but if you can look past it, you're going to love this story. And I said, not a chance. It's not happening. Anyway, they managed to rope my mate into reading it, and he was like, you need to read that book, mate. He's like, it is brilliant. So I still held off, and my wife ended up saying, if you read the first book, I will buy a Warhammer miniature and I'll paint it. And I read the first book, got hooked, read the second one within about like 2 weeks, and then we had to wait. Well, the most recent one came out in January, and I've finished that. There's another 2 books in the series, and I'm like, oh, my God, I can't wait for these books to come out. But she still hasn't. We've got the model, but she still hasn't
That'll
painted
test
it.
that. That'll test
Yeah,
that. You do
I
this for
know.
me, and I'll definitely do that for you. It
Yeah,
never happens, but
yeah.
as men, we fall for it all the fucking time.
But now the channel's live, to be fair, I've said to her, you're not painting that until you paint it on the channel, and we're just going to go down the route of like, I taught my wife how to paint Warhammer and just have some fun in front of a camera, basically.
But what would happen though if your wife is a better painter than you and Dave?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably make a lot of money this day and age.
And how does she cope with the hobby? Like, was it like you just kind of sprung it on her, or did you chat about it first? And
No, mate. I mean, she laughs at me, and like I say, I'm obsessive, and when I get into a hobby, I'm like
yeah,
in. So she's known that anyway. Like when I'm trying to kind of go through online gaming. When we moved in, she kind of knew that I got back into online gaming, and that kind of took over my time. And then I also told myself I wanted to learn how to play the piano, so I started that, and I bought a piano, and yeah, I went down that route and got obsessed with that, and then yeah, I started. To be fair, before Warhammer, I'd kind of jumped, as everyone did. I jumped back on the Pokemon card hype, and I was like buying stuff and keeping it sealed and flipping it. And then, yeah, I kind of jumped back into Warhammer. And I think when she actually saw how much I was buying and what this room was turning into, she's like, "All right, this is maybe a little bit different from the rest. You're actually going all in here." Um, but when I was gaming, I was streaming on a game, and I used to have a YouTube channel for one of the games that I played. Um, so like quite a bit of the recording equipment I already had from like previous on YouTube. So I was like, you know what? For that, I wasn't actually going, you know what? I'm going to invest all this money into this on a whim. I actually had like 50% of what I needed. So yeah, that wasn't too bad, but I've definitely added to it. Yeah, I do sometimes make myself laugh. I walk in this room and go, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. But yeah, I'm having fun, and that's all that matters.
exactly. Uh, what was I going to ask you? This is why I need Pete Casey here. Oh yeah, I was watching. I was on a pub quiz during the week there, and it was asking what Tim Roth's character was in Reservoir Dogs. Do you remember the name of his character?
Yeah,
Well, it was Mr. Orange because we are sponsored by Orange Brushes.
yeah.
Use Inquisition 10% at checkout for your 10% discount on Orange Brushes.
David probably kill me because he's also sponsored, so he'll be like, "You need to plug his discount
What
code."
what what is Dave's discount code again? Is it Inquisition? I think it is Inquisition. No,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
what's
so.
his is it
I
41st Dave or Dave
don't know.
something
We've
like that.
actually got. I asked for a painters portal one because we're just redoing the website at the minute because the website that we've got there, I didn't really want a website. I just wanted somewhere that someone could go on and get the PDF without having to join the Discord server or whatnot. The WordPress website that we made was like proper shit. It looks like something that you made in school in 2006 or something like that. So we're just making a new one on Squarespace at the moment, and I just wanted to redo the guide. So I'd asked for, rather than giving a Dave related discount code, I asked for a painter's portal if he could get us a painter's portal, and so he has done that. But they're nice brushes, to be fair.
Yeah.
I hadn't used them. David used them, tried them, and he said, "You know what? I'm really happy with them." And then they sent me some, and I'd been using Rosemary and Co brushes before that, which honestly I can't knock those either. They're made in Yorkshire, so um, yeah, it's they're still nice brushes. They're nice and I won't say cheap, but they're probably a similar sort of price, and they're good quality. You're not having to spend 20 quid a brush like you are on some of these crazy ones out there. But the orange brushes I've recently been anything that I've been painting with, I've been painting that, and yeah, they're good brushes.
The only brush I don't use when I'm painting, the only non-orange paintbrush that I use is this one, and that's just to take the paint out of the pot. What do you use to put the paint out of the pot? Do you use one of your brushes, or do you use an old brush? Because
Nah,
I
I
know
use
some people are quite like particular about those sorts of things. But
I
what would
can't
you
I
use?
can't be taking. Most of the time, I use a silicon shaper.
Yeah,
Yeah, most of the time I just use a silicon shaper. If obviously most of my stuff, I don't actually use that much, or haven't used that much Citadel paint. So obviously a lot of it's just in dropper bottles. But if I'm using Citadel stuff, then it's silicon shaper most of the time.
yeah. I tried to move all my
Ah, it's a
Citadel.
pain, mate. I did it
I think I tried.
myself, and the issue. Do you want to know the issue is that you move it all into dropper bottles, but to move them into dropper bottles, you've got to add thinner, and then your paint's too thin. You know, if you want it for like dry brushing or something like that, like it's then because I did that thing where I started off with good intentions, and I'm like, right, just put um, just enough thinner to get this out of the dropper bottle, out of the pot, and then before you knew it, I was like, this is taking the piss. I'm not waiting this long. So I'm putting shitloads of thinner in, shaking it up. I'm like, there we go. So now some of the, I've got like some Citadel paints behind me, and I've just had to rebuy them back in the pots because I'm like, yeah, they're too thin. They're all right if you're trying to make a glaze out of them, but yeah, I'm knackered otherwise.
I think at one point I had more paint in myself and my fingers, trying to scrape every last fucking bit
Yeah.
of paint out. And I bought 50 dropper bottles, but I think I had about 70 paints. And it took me like 7 hours on a Saturday to get them all transferred. And because I had like four funnels, I had to then go and wash out the four
Yeah.
funnels. Oh, it was such a pain in
Yeah.
the arse. I
It's
really
just
regretted
not,
that.
you know what? It's not. I'd thought about because I'd watched again going back to YouTube.
Yeah.
I'd watched a video on someone doing it, and I was like, yeah, it's a decent video, but there's a few things that I think it could. And then I thought, you know what, I'm not making a video on this because no one should be doing this. Like, leave them in paint pots, or just get a different. If you want dropper bottles, just get a different brand. Like, uh,
Casey asked, what is your paint of choice then?
um, I like AK. But I think sometimes they run a little bit matte, and that's just the type of paint. That's not me saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes you don't necessarily want such a matte finish on them. And I don't necessarily. I did that thing where like I jumped back into the hobby and just started like going through tutorials and tutorials and tutorials, and I'm one of them people that if I've got a certain dark blue, but you tell me that I need a different
Yeah.
dark blue that is nearly identical to the dark blue that I've got. I'll be buying the dark blue that you've got. I can't use that one that I've got because it isn't the same one that you've bought. So I have a big mix. I like Vallejo. Me and Dave are currently reviewing some of the Army Painter paints at the minute, and they sent out their war paint fanatic like a 60 paint set, and it's nice paint. Like
I think that's the key though, isn't it? It's like different colours and different brands. I prefer different colours to
yeah.
different brands. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple of Citadel colours that I do like that I will like. I do like their Death Guard green. I love that.
Yep.
But there is different other brands of colours that I do prefer. Like I do prefer the Army Painter silver. What is it called? Aye, the gunmetal one. I do prefer that to lead belts.
Yeah, that's it. It's like that. I know people. Sometimes I think it's just a little bit of a. People like to knock Citadel just because it's Citadel, and I don't always think it's fair. Like Citadel Reds, I think are fantastic. Like the brilliant paints, got really good coverage. I like using AK paints, but I hate AK blues. Like the coverage on AK blues is horrible. I think for the most part, and I don't think. I think in one of the videos that we've got like scheduled to come out, I think I say this, but there is no such thing as the perfect set of paints.
No.
Like there's not on earth. Like it's you're going to have preferences from different sets of paint, but realistically, the perfect set of paint is probably a bunch of paints from different brands all put together.
I'm going to pause it there, right? So I'm just going to stop this and I'm going to restart it in a minute, right? I'm
Yeah.
going to try and get Casey in because I need to nip to the toilet quickly, okay? So I do apologise, and this won't be edited out because I don't know how to edit. I just throw everything in music. So just give me 2 minutes so I can post this, and then I'll restart another live. And Casey should be here as well, okay, bud?
Yeah, no bother.
Cheers.
All right.
See you in 2 minutes, people. We're back, part 2 of the Inquisition with Diceandpigment. Hopefully we can get Casey to join this time. And yeah, managed to do a quick toilet. So yeah, what a great chat already, folks. I'm really enjoying this. So we'll try and get everybody back on as soon as possible. What are you all painting in the chat? Put it in comments. If it's on YouTube, put it in comments. If you're new at the channel, give us a follow and we'll follow you back. Anybody that follows us, you're not a sex bot, you're not some crazy 3D print person who doesn't really post things. Follow us. We will follow you back because that's what we do. We're not one of those channels that will follow you and then not follow people back, because that really irritates me when you get people that have got like 20,000 followers and only follow like 50 people. Like, why do that? So yeah, so hopefully we'll get Norm back in a minute. We'll hopefully get Casey in as well, and I'm going to try and edit this out so it's seamless as though nothing had happened. So yeah, I have a wee cream egg. Other chocolate eggs are available, and we'll get into the nitty gritty with Norm now and see what the story is. There is Casey. There is Norm. This is when Instagram starts taking the piss. I definitely think it's Casey. He's got. He's not joining us tonight. Sorry about that, man. I drank way too much before I came on, and I thought
It's all good.
But Casey's once again he's let the side down, so yeah, he needs to pay his internet bill. So yeah, I think we're talking about like paints there. Is there any paints that you don't like? Is there any brands out there you just don't touch?
Not through not liking them. No, I'd like to try the Scale 75 paints, but I think I'd read somewhere that they're like a gel base rather than whatever standard acrylic paint is based, and they like act a little bit differently on a palette. Apparently, I hadn't used them, so I couldn't tell you. But I have seen a few tutorials using those paints and thought they do look nice, but I'm also one of those people that gets scared shitless when you've never used something and I need someone to show me how to use it.
Yeah, I was like that with floral paints. I'm
Yeah,
some like fluoride stuff on this lad here.
yeah.
And I watched about 1,000 tutorials about how to put fluoro on, and I think it was Sassy Nerdlin that went, just thin it down and just put it on and just layer it on thin layers at a time, and it eventually turn up. And it's for a Spanish man, he told the truth.
Yeah, it's faffy, that stuff. I did it on that axe recently, and the first like few layers, I'm like, what the hell is going on with this? But it does build up eventually.
Yeah, it's just patience, and that's like thing that you have to like adapt to when you're doing this painting now is like patience to get the results that you're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of fall into the trap of when you're watching a YouTube video, and one of the ones that really annoy me is when, oh, let's get this really easy glow, and it starts off with a guy with a paintbrush putting the white on, and then he brings out his airbrush. You're like, dude, I'm really a fucking airbrush, man. Is there any techniques that you just avoid yourself?
I mean, I haven't tried. Yeah, not avoid through not because I think, oh, that's bad. Probably more so through the fact that I'm just not. It's not the style of painting that I want to do. Like I haven't really done anything slap chop. and that's just because I get it. Like if you wanted to get something on the tabletop, or you're trying to sort of blast through things, you're using speed paints and whatnot. But just because I kind of initially straight away went down the, I don't paint like army paint or anything like that. I'm trying to paint to the best of my standard, if you like. And then when I started doing the lessons with Aaron and stuff, it was on like light placement, and obviously Slapshot doesn't necessarily put highlights in the right places. It just catches the edges. So that's something that I haven't done. But again, we've got the speed paint box from the army painter to try out, and me and Dave on one of the videos are going to be doing. It's going to be our first head-to-head challenge where I'm going to use the speed paints by the army painter. Dave's going to use contrast paint. We're splitting a box set in half, and then we're going to kind of have a head-to-head and let people vote on who's they think's best.
Just touching back on something we mentioned in part one, what was the set of books that you were reading that you didn't want to read but now you're fully invested in? What was that? In case anybody's looking for a new series of books to read.
So it's called Fourth Wing. Is it's the first one called? Yeah, Fourth Wing. Yeah, Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, then Onyx Storm was the most recent one. It's basically kind of like Hunger Games meets Game of Thrones meets it's got dragons in it, and that kind of is what gets me hooked. Genuinely, like, yeah, there is a little bit of smutty stuff, but honestly, there's not a great deal, and it doesn't take away from the story. I don't read books; I just listen to it as an audio book. And the first book that my missus tried to get me to read, we went on holiday and we were in, I think we were in Cyprus, and we'd gone back to a hotel room to put the little one down for a nap, and she ended up dropping to sleep, and I thought, go on, I'll try and listen to this book. So I listened to, I think, the first 5 chapters while she was napping, and I was like, it's all right. And then the second day I did the same, and I think by like chapter 10 or 11 I was like, yeah, all right, this is my type of like world, if you like. And I finished the book that holiday. I literally every moment I could listen to it. I think I finished it on the drive home from the airport. We parked at the airport, and I finished it on the drive home. And after that, I was like, yeah, they're going to make it into they're making an Amazon series out of it. So the authors sold the rights to Amazon, and apparently she said that they came at her with 2 scripts, and one of the scripts she wouldn't change anything. And I'm like, for an author to say that, they've got to be fairly confident in it. But no, it is a genuinely good book series. If anyone's like not much of a reader, because I really ain't a reader, I haven't read anything before that, and I haven't read anything since it. But the next one probably won't come out for another year or so, and I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah, like I think for myself, audiobooks are definitely the way forward. Like when I go fishing or I go a drive anywhere and the missus isn't in the car, audiobooks
Like
all
an
day.
audiobook.
It's back on. It's just so easy to relax and listen to. When you're doing your painting yourself, do you have anything in the background, or is it just? I know some hearings it just like silence, but do you have anything in the background yourself when you're painting?
To be honest with you, at the moment, obviously, most recently, no, but that's because the majority of kind of hobby stuff that we've been doing has been like also trying to create stuff for YouTube. So I just haven't been able to, just because I've either been recording audio at the same time or whatever. Prior to that, that's when we'd always do hobby hangouts. So either me, Dave, and my brother, if we were all free, we'd just either come on Discord on your phone or FaceTime each other while we were painting. And then before that, I'm not much of a. I can't listen to music while I'm trying to concentrate. Like it doesn't do it. No, probably not. I'm a bit of a. I'd maybe have the odd. I'd have a YouTube video on in the background that I can zone out of, because once I start concentrating, I can't. Nothing else soaks in. Which was when I was reading that book. Literally, hobby went out of the window. Everything went out of the window. I was like, I know I can't multitask with this. Anyway, but a bit gutting because my one of my best mates, the one who said, "Oh, you need to read this book." He at the time he'd they've gone travelling now around Europe, but at the time he'd picked up a temporary job doing delivery driving for Asda, and he was listening to obviously 8 hours of audiobook every single day. So he absolutely smashed through that book, and I just can't do that at work. I don't have scope to do that. So then I'd come home and be like, right, I need to try and get this done again. So no, I'm not. I can't. I don't have the brain capacity to do multiple things. I'm a very typical bloke that's like, right, just, I'm painting, so that's what I'm doing.
When you're not doing your when you're not painting and you're not making your YouTube stuff, what do you like to do to relax?
To relax, I train jiu-jitsu now. I started jiu-jitsu maybe 18 months ago, something like that. I do that 2 or 3 times a week. Um, Obviously I've got a family, so I spend quite a lot of time with the family. I do work a lot, so that unfortunately takes up probably the bulk of my time, like it does with anyone. Painting, to be honest with you, painting for me is my sort of my time, if you like. It's yeah.
And what's the kind of what are you looking to get with the jits? Are you wanting to maybe go to a few competitions, or is it just like to keep yourself fit? You just like to roll about with sweaty men?
Um, I'm not. I probably will end up doing some competitions, but I'm not competitive at all in the. And that's not saying I don't want to win, because I do. I don't like pressure of competition. Like it kind of takes the fun out of it for me sometimes. Initially, I wanted to. So I enjoy MMA. I watch quite a lot of MMA. I'm quite into my boxing and stuff like that. And I've always wanted to join. And just down the road from me, this gym opened 18 months ago. And I was like, you know what? There's not going to be any clicks or anything like that. It's just going to be a fresh start. So I joined there. Um, and it's quite funny because the tutor that's down there is pretty. He understands you've got like realistically 2 or 3 types of people that are going down there. You've got people that are wanting to do it like quite intensely and do it as for competitiveness. You've got people that are doing it for fitness, and then he's like, and I have no doubt that some of you are doing it so that if someone gets mouthy outside a kebab shop, you know you can handle yourself. And I'm like, you know what? I am also kind of there for that reason. Like I won't lie. Um, yeah, just one of them. I read I was listening to a podcast once, and it was like with some of the MMA guys, and they were saying like kind of how it gives you a different mindset when you know that you can do something. You just react totally different to certain situations, and it is pretty eye opening going down there. Like it's humbling. Like I'm 35 year old. I'm 6 foot. I weigh probably I don't know 90 kilos, something like that. And yeah, you get some young kids that are like 17 year olds that beat the living shit out of you.
Got a couple of questions there for Casey. What's the worst jiu-jitsu injury you've had, and who is your MMA goat in your opinion?
The you know what? Touch wood. I've not had massive amounts of injuries. We have a young kid down at the gym. I say a young kid, he's probably like 24 year old. He's competing in MMA, and whenever me and him roll, I'll say to him like, "Listen, I know you're trying to get experience out of this, so I don't want you going like light on me or anything. If you hurt me, I'll tell you that you're hurting me. Like, if I don't, just go for him." And he didn't mean to be fair. We were both rolling and we both got up at the same time, and he ended up like kneeing me in the side of it, just like the top of my eyelid. And it instantly just went like a golf ball. Quite funny because I think like 4 days later I ended up being on First Rank Fire podcast with this big fucking black eye. And that's genuinely the only actual injury that I've had. Most of the you tend to get injured in competition or go into other gyms, whereas in your actual gym, yeah, you do get the occasional guy that like there's some ego kind of rolling, but for the most part, everyone wants to look after each other because at the end of the day, if you don't have any training partners left, then it's
Yeah.
yeah, you got no one to roll with. So yeah, touch wood, no broken bones. We have seen a few injuries down there, but nothing too bad. And my MMA goat. Um, probably GSP, George St. Pierre, I think.
Yeah, I like what's his fucking name now? The boy for Hawaii. Uh, the Hawaiian boy who fucking he just always points and just at the end just wants to go fucking full tilt. I can't remember his fucking name now. Don't annoy me. I was actually trying. I was in. Me and my mates do a wee kind of sauna club on a Monday and a Tuesday.
Yeah.
We actually did it Sunday a few months ago, and I was speaking to a baldy guy covered in tattoos, and I was like, uh, "Do you do like MMA or that?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, how do you know?" I said, "I don't know. I just thought I had that feeling." He says, "Do you?" And he wrote, I think he does jiu-jitsu in Derry, and he says, "In a competition, Max Holloway, that's who it was."
Yeah, Max Holloway.
And he said he was in a MMA thing, and he get involved in a role with a guy who does jiu-jitsu, and he choked him out, and he passed out, and he says, "What was?" He says, what was the aftermath of that? Like, I've always wondered, like, if you're in a proper fight, what happens? He goes, for about 3 months after, if I thought about passing out, I'd pass out. If I thought about that moment he had me in the clinch and I was going to pass out, I'd just pass out. How mental? He said my wife is going mental. He's just got a newborn baby as well. He said my wife is going absolutely nuts. Like sometimes I'd like be pure fear that I was going to like just pass out for the sake of passing out because of that. I was like, man, that is wild.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why I say it's quite humbling. It's quite funny. I'd been training down there about 6 months, and we had a new guy come, quite a big lad, bigger than me, like ex-rugby lad, and basically the way that a typical sort of class goes, our class is a 90 minutes long, and you do an hour of technical, and then you do half an hour of like sparring or rolling. And I ended up rolling with him. I hadn't rolled with him before, and I'm like, "Have you done anything before, mate?" And he's like, "No, no, not a lot." It was like, but I come from rugby, so I'm like, I know how to. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
You
This
don't know
is
anything, mate.
like, nah. And I'd only been doing it 6 months, but the amount you learn in 6 months is crazy. And I'm still a spazzy white belt now, but I ended up managing to get him into a choke, and he didn't tap. I just put him to sleep, and I didn't even realise I'd put him to sleep until he went limp. And then obviously you just get up, lift the legs up, he comes back round, and I'm like, "Why didn't you tap?" He was like, "Oh well, you weren't hurting me," and I'm like, well, it's not that hurting. I'd literally stopped the blood going to your head. Like, and he was pretty. To be fair, afterwards he was like, "Yeah, it's quite humbling that, mate." He's like, "I would have thought that like I'd have mauled you like a bear," and I'm thinking, yeah, it's just a totally different type of game.
Yeah, like if I'm being mouthy to somebody outside a kebab shop now and they start sitting down and shuffling towards me, doing that sloth thing that guy in Croatia does, I'm just going to go, no, mate, you're all right. I'll just knock myself out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think Jits is just mental. Like it is just. He's got another question. What's the best MMA fight you've watched? And he's got a couple.
The best. No, really, I probably do have best. I've typically enjoyed most of like Dustin Poirier's fights just because he swings and he just bangs. Like Dustin versus Dan Hooker and stuff like that. They were just good fights. I like to, although I understand that like the sort of Dagestani wrestling stuff is absolutely dominating and it wins. I don't think it's the most exciting sort of matchup that there is. I like to watch people kind of doing all aspects of MMA, which is it's quite rare. Don't know. A good old slugfest is quite good.
Yeah, I mean you can't beat two heavyweights just fighting. But I
Just
also like
throwing bombs.
I also like watching Mighty Mouse back in the day
Yeah,
and Iceman Cut Liddell. Those fights were just
yeah,
that was before like
yeah. It
it,
wasn't quite as finessed as what it is now, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, good, real good entertaining matches back then.
Yeah, it would make you stay up to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. Like even when McGregor fought Dustin Poirier the second and third time, they were good fights. Did you watch the Ben Eubank fight?
I did. That was an absolutely brilliant fight. That it lived up to the hype. Um, yeah, I were impressed by it, and I thought that didn't necessarily see it going how it went, as in not necessarily the result, but I think they did that kind of legacy very proud. I thought it was. Yeah, I don't think so. I think he looked like he looked like the busier person, but wasn't necessarily landing the the sort of most effective shots in my opinion. And I think it was closer than what those scorecards said. But
I mean, I think if it was given as I think if it was a draw, I don't think anybody could have complained.
yeah, I wouldn't have argued with it, but I would have still, in my opinion, it, I would have still said, in my opinion, that I thought Eubank won it. I think he just finished too strong in them last two rounds, and I think that, for me, is what swayed it in his favour. But I do think those scorecards were a bit wide.
That's boxing on MMA, because some of the decisions you get in both those disciplines are, you still don't understand how can you give it to that person?
No, but like, so I was looking. I don't know if you saw the scorecards from the Eubank Ben fight, because I was like, how the hell did three judges score this the same way? But all three judges, although the score was the same,
The rounds were different.
the rounds were different, and I'm like, fucking crazy,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
strange. But
It is a bit mad sometimes, like, especially when you watch. I think it's good as well because, like, the MMA, you get the post fight interviews with Dana White. You can
yeah,
definitely tell when he's raging at refs that have maybe
yeah,
went, like, he's like, I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand. Like, well, like, these are the guys that are never.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's true. Yeah, but do you? Is there any upcoming fights that you would like to see
Um,
in both? I think we'll obviously get a Ben Eubank rematch,
so
but
I was listening to another interview with Eubank the other day, and I think they're trying to make the Canelo fight in Wembley or Spurs, and he seemed pretty intent on that being his next. He didn't really mention the rematch, and I think that the contract that they've signed, I believe, has the same stipulations as the initial fight. And I think they were saying, oh, they'd maybe like to up that the rehydration clause. Whereas I think Eddie Hearn was saying, like, as far as we're concerned, we've signed a contract and those kind of rules are the rules for a reason. But it's all about, you got to think, especially for, not so much for Conor Benn, but for Eubank, he's got to be looking now and thinking, right, it's time to make some money because how old is he? 35, 34, 35? Like, he's not got that long left in him. And a fight like a Canelo fight at Wembley or the Spurs ground, it'd fill the ground and it's big, big money.
I think just touching on what Casey said, I think that fight came at the right time when you get, like, YouTube boxers starting to
Yeah,
take over. I think the Ben fight. I would like to see Dubois fight Olasek
yeah,
again.
yeah.
I
I
think
think that'll be a good fight.
I think that would be an absolute carnage fight. I think Dubois definitely was kind of wronged in that fight.
Yeah.
For me, that wasn't a low blow.
No, that's the beauty of opinions, I suppose, isn't it? That it's I think that'll be a good fight when it happens. I think YouTube boxing, I don't keep up with it. I'll be honest with you, but I'm not a huge Jake Paul fan, and obviously he's the kind of the top boy in it. Um, I think it's dying personally. I
Yeah,
do think it's on the way down rather than on the way up. But yeah, again, it annoys me, but you can't blame them. Like, it annoys, and it doesn't annoy me because of what they're doing. It annoys me more for the fact that you've got, like, you've got some 24, 25-year-old lads that have dedicated their lives to boxing that won't ever get anywhere. They probably end up as journeymen and they'll be, like, getting nowhere near the amount of money that some YouTubers coming on to go on a sort of entertainment card, and they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds, which is on it's basically like a side hustle for them when you've got people that are dedicating their lives and would dream of being able to do that for that amount of money. But I do think it's on the kind of on the decline. You don't hear as many people talking about it as much
I
anymore.
think maybe the Tyson fight kind of fucked it because
Yeah, I think so.
cause I mean, I did watch the Tyson fight after it happened, and there was times there where
Yeah,
you seen him
yeah,
not throwing that left hook,
yeah,
not hitting him
yeah,
properly, going, dude, I could still destroy you and
yeah.
bite you off at the same time.
Yeah, that was just the fix. Was that like it was no doubt about it.
Yeah, it was a good payday for Mike, but you could tell that if Mike was anywhere intent, he would have destroyed
Yeah,
you.
they killed him, and that's it. Unfortunately, that it's a lot of money involved, and I think there's a lot of backhanders going in a lot of sport, not just in boxing. Obviously,
Yeah,
but I think what people like forget with again a lot of sport is it's a business.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So just jumping back to the hobby for the last 10, 15 minutes before we go, and really do appreciate you giving up your night. I know you've got a couple of young gremlins kicking about.
Aye.
How old are your gremlins, if you don't mind me asking?
So my son is well, he'll be 4 in August, so he's 3.5, whatever, and then my daughter is just turning 6 months.
Yeah, your hands full, mate. You're fucked. You've got a daughter. You're totally fucked now.
Yeah,
Not only because she'll have you wrapped around your finger, but she's also going to be daddy's girl. So you're totally screwed, mate.
yeah.
You're
Oh,
done.
I know this. Yeah,
Yeah, and you've got mummy's boy there. I take it your daughter's probably the most. There's the wild child because she's the second, and also, you know what I
yeah,
mean? You're cooked, mate.
yeah.
As the young ones say, you are cooked.
Yeah. That's
And then Dave, 41st Century Dave, he's got one in the way as well. Like, what's all that about, man? Mental. Don't do it, folks. It's overrated. What you working on yourself, painting wise?
um. So well, I'd bought. Well, I had it already painted, and then the plan was to strip it because I wanted to record myself. You know the Maw Crusher.
Yep.
So I'd already painted that, like half finished it, and I was like, you know what, this I want because of the kind of scheme that I'm going down, I want to turn this into a video. So I stripped it, and because it was already built, I didn't realise, but some of the stripper had got inside the model. So although I washed it off, I stripped the model off, stripped it, washed it off. I left the stripper inside the model. Oh, I didn't realise, but I put it on like a plate just to dry. When I came back off holiday, because I did it before we went away for a week, and when I came back, it had just burnt a massive hole straight through the bottom of it. So I've rebought that, and I'm planning on painting that up. I also bought a yeah. Come on. Oh, I was going to say I'll check my phone, but I'm on with you, so I can't. Yeah, it's basically a classic 90s. One of the series that we want to do is um, like kind of restoring old miniatures that have got bad paint jobs. So that's
Oh yeah, yeah.
like a
Yeah, kind of like hobby rescue sort
yeah,
of type thing.
kind of like that. And I wanted like the first one that I did to be a kind of like a classic piece, and I won't lie to you, I couldn't really remember that many sort of like I wanted it to be a piece that was going to draw attention, so I ended up reaching out to um, Stibio Primaris, and I said to him like, if there's a model, a dreadnought that you could kind of restore, what would it be? And he ended up linking me on. He found one for me and said, "This is probably one of the only ones that I haven't done." And it wasn't cheap. It was like 90 quid, 100 quid, or something like that. But he'd said like, if you really want to, if you paint it, whack it back on eBay, like you'll get that money back for it all day long. So that came a couple of weeks ago, and I've got that ready to strip and restore. So one of those two is probably next on the hobby list, as well as I've got one of the other things that I'm planning on doing is like a how to paint faces
I would
series.
definitely be
Um,
right into that because I cannot paint a face or a
yeah,
model, to be honest with
and
you. to save myself.
You know what? I think it's so. I ended up reaching out to. I'm sure you've seen these people on Instagram that can paint faces like portraits, and you think, how the hell are you doing that? I ended up reaching out to one of the guys about maybe a year ago now, I bet, and we just started chatting. And in the end, he ended up like kind of taking me under his wing and saying, you know what, like this is what I do. And I'd said to him, right, I've got all this stuff. Can you tell me what I need to do next? And he kind of did show me the process. And something kind of clicked during that process. And I was like, kind of just treating it like a portrait painting and kind of looking at how light is reacting on the face. And you don't need to, yeah, you can, granted, I'm not painting it to the standard that he's painting it, but I don't think it's that difficult to pump out like a what you would probably look and go, you know what, that's quite a good looking face. So I just want to do I think Duncan Rhodes has done one already, to be fair, but I just want to put my own spin on it of like kind of like you know, like you can paint this in 20 minutes. This is your 2 hour version. This is your 4 hour version, or whatever. Kind of like speed paint into something a little bit more. So they're what I've got in terms of kind of single models, and then like I say, me and Dave are. What have I got to paint? We're doing the challenge video, which is going to be we're basically going to split the box of squigs, and that's what we're going to use the speed paint and the contrast paint on. And then I'm going to do like an individual, a bit more of an in-depth review on the Army Painters speed paint, and I'm going to do that on I think I bought possibly a kill team for that. Or, oh no, I didn't actually. I bought some intercessors to do that with, so. When I get round to it though, because I've got another 5 or 6 videos in front of me that are just all like equipment-based videos. So.
I'm quite obsessed with like making sure I get things planned in the future. Would you both be like that, or is that just you that you've got these videos that you want to do?
Yeah, we've kind of got a list at the minute, so we roughly know what each of us working on. What we're really trying to do at the minute is, problem is you don't want to sort of. I think as from a starting point, I think the channel is actually starting at quite a high quality in terms of like the sort of like production of it. Like it's not shot on a mobile. We've got some pretty decent recording equipment, and my brother's editing for us, and he's learning kind of as he goes along. And you don't want the quality to drop in the production side of things. But what we could really do with is having like a bank of 10 videos so that you don't feel that pressure of, right, we need to get something out this Friday. Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah, you definitely do feel
What
that.
about doing like a short? Having like shorts.
Yeah.
Are you more interested in the long term format?
So apparently I've like kind of been deep diving into a lot of YouTube stuff, and if you run shorts and long form on the same channel, apparently the shorts can have how YouTube's algorithm works. A lot of people have seen it have negative impacts on their long form content.
Right.
So we are probably going to go down the shorts route a little bit, but I'll probably end up opening up, like a sister channel under the same kind of name to run the shorts on it. And just because shorts obviously transfer to Instagram and all that lot quite well, it's just getting yourselves out there a little bit more.
Well, boss, my dog is crying at my feet here, so she definitely is out because we're in the middle of house training her. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we finish up for the evening, if that's all right with yourself, bud?
Who do I want to give a shout out to? You know what? I'll shout out a few people that, since I've jumped back into the hobby, have been really helpful. I've already mentioned one. That's Stibio Primaris. I'm going to go Mud Creek Miniatures because he was one of the guys who his work really inspired me to begin with. not Dave. And then Ed Paint Stuff is someone who I've spoke to quite a lot, and when I first jumped into the hobby, he's always been kind of someone that if I've needed to ask a question about what's this, what's that, yeah, he's never made me feel like an idiot. He's always gave me a decent answer. So I'll shout those guys out, I think.
And the last guy, did you know him before you came back to painting, or is that somebody you found on Instagram?
I mean, every single. I don't. There's not one person that I've got on Instagram that I knew before I started painting. Like,
Is it
not
not
one.
mad that you find one or two people that you always go back to and ask on, I'm not playing with you, that you always ask like for a painting technique or a wee bit of help on something? It's
Yeah,
mad that.
like you know what? Not even down to that. I find that like my Instagram DMs, if you like, set into primary, general, and all that lot. But I probably talk to the same, like 10 people, like quite regularly. It pops up reacting to stuff. It's good. You make the annoying thing for me is I a lot of kind of the painting competitions and the like UK Games Expo and stuff like that. It's always in April, May, and June, and unfortunately, I can't leave work in April, May, and June, and it really grinds my gears because I'd really like to get to some of those kind of like conventions and competitions just to meet people.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's annoying, but yeah, there's some good friendships to be made. That's for sure.
yeah. Right, boss, I'm ready to go because my dog is actually now biting my feet. Uh, we're back next week, folks, with Orange Brushes. I just want to say massive thanks again for coming
No
on.
problem.
We'll
Thanks for
definitely
having me.
try and get, definitely try and get you and the Grey Fox on together for the Painters Portal. To, like, just love for you to chat about that as well if you're up for it later on in the year.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Yeah, once again, folks, thanks for coming and joining us tonight. I'll get this uploaded onto YouTube in a few days, and we'll see you all next week, folks. Thanks very much.
Peace.
Au revoir.